thinking about musical phrasing and the kind of things that maybe when you come to soloing, and I'll do this in sections, so you might think about these as positive or negative points. A lot of people think, oh, I'll just play the pentatonic scale over changes that relate to it, etc. My preference has always been to use 7-note scales and maybe occasionally some altered things, just to emphasise the bits that are slightly outside the normal chord tone. So you might end up with C sharp minor 7 flat 5. Well, you might want to put the flat 5 in a solo line, etc. But the way I really think one should think about it is that what you're doing, Pat Metheny once said, it's like telling a story. It's a never-ending story of life, and you put that through the changes and to play in your own way through that and tell your own story. That was just the phone clicking to show you that this is a completely live broadcast, so you can see what this track is in B minor. And what I'm going to try and do is just take you through part of the way I think about the chord sequence. But before I do, there's some things that you might want to incorporate in your story, like tremolo work, you know. That's just a technique, vibrato. It's a technique, and but it adds to the phrasing. Light and shade, you know. Adds to your story. So this is in B minor, and I'll take you through the chords first and show you what I mean. So what you want to do, if you were taking this you might want to start with just establishing a conversation. So what you're doing is having a conversation with the audience. So I said this is in B minor, it's sort of B minor, 8th, 13th, D major 9th, etc, etc. I'm not going to go, you'll figure it out. I'm going to start with just some pentatonic phrasing to introduce stuff, and then move into straightforward Aeolian B minor, B harmonic minor as well, and then I might, a bit later on, you'll see I'll add some diminished stuff in, but I won't be, this isn't going to be in sequence, so I'm just going to start it with one little sequence, and you'll see what I mean, and I'll stop it and explain what I was trying to achieve there. Okay. First of all, have to establish a theme. Not doing too much, you can decide. Okay, not doing too much because talk about, so basically we were just messing around with B minor there and stating a few themes and as beginning to tell our story. But then we might want to imagine, as I said, it's a conversation, and in a conversation you can get heated, you can get, you could lose your temper, you can have hilarity, or hilarious conversations. You can have stuff that happens that moves it into, and then because obviously if in a real conversation there's difficulty with languages, you could get lost and try and describe it by using parts of a foreign language. So what I'm going to do now is move it away from the sort of pentatonic approach with a couple of added notes and start to add more notes and use the B minor Aeolian scale. And it goes around the chords because the, you know, A13th would be in there, D major 9th would be in there, and then we're just going to build it slightly, and this is where we start to put some lines in, and what I'll do is I'll try and stick them as much into that Aeolian scale, but I'm going to put some chromatic tones in as well, which will partly come from the half diminished approach, and you'll hear that happen when just where the C sharp minor 7 flat 5 and the F sharp minor 7 sharp 5 happens. Anyway, let's just carry on and try and explain how you might build this solo. So you know where we're at. Building blocks going on there, so moving into phrasing and jazzy areas that push you into all sorts of dimensions, you notice the chromatic thing, which and that little bit of the half diminished scale added some colour. It pushes you slightly outside occasionally, but it isn't pushing you right outside. It's just putting some introduction into it that does take it outside. But then what you can do is, again, thinking about, because basically I'm still sticking pretty much around B minor Aeolian scale and B minor harmonic, hence that if you took the Aeolian, which is, but the harmonic would involve that, which gives you that you end up with sort of some Eastern promise into it. Now, if you might want to move it into a more jazzy environment and start to push it outside. And when you do that, you have to bear in mind where you want to come back to. So we'll take this through a few sequences of bars and take you outside, maybe quite early. But imagine if you were thinking this from a wholesale, and remember the point I was trying to make about it being a story. And the story is the improvisation, obviously. and you get to the end of it all, and you've kind of in that process told a story. So what you know, it doesn't need to follow all through that. You could have stuck with the pentatonic. You could have done lots of riffing and so forth. But it is, to me, it's how I think about constructing solos. I wouldn't normally want to do one that long if I was doing it live, but it's just thinking about where everything speeds up and all of your imagination takes you into, and one line leads to another, so it's almost like there's some answering stuff going on there, there's some extensions, and there's some movement up and down the tonality of the basic scales involved, with a bit of outside playing which we put in, and that was only just a semitone advancement on the whole thing. Okay, that's it for now.